Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thanks so much for joining me here. We're going to take a quick look at Mina. And just before we do, we always look at Bitcoin because I think it's important to understand kind of what's going on with the big dog there. And bottom line, price is kind of trending right around 65,000. It's having trouble keeping 65,000 as a support level, which is pretty standard when you have a really strong red day here. The likelihood of bouncing back right away is pretty low in most cases. So just keep that in mind. We had a really big red day yesterday and down 9%, travel from top to bottom. So it really hurt a lot of stop losses, including some of my own. And it's all good. We're going to bounce back. But keep in mind, Bitcoin may not just like ramp up to 70, 80,000 tomorrow because of this, right? It is good to add to your position, dollar cost average, but for lack of better terms, Bitcoin's in good shape. But I wouldn't expect it just to, just trampling right back into the fold, right? So, anyways, it's kind of where we're at there. And just before we look at Mina, I got to let you know I'm not a financial advisor, of course, by any means, but I love teaching and I like helping other people become better traders. I've been trading for over 15 years, and my goal is to help you, obviously, take the next leg up, right? Make sure that you are more self-sufficient. I have a trading community designed for that purpose so we can all grow together. We're all learning together. It's a phenomenal experience. And it's growing really fast. So we're probably going to have a max of 200 members here soon. And I just want to let you know that rates are increasing next month as well. So if you lock in your rates this month, you'll have that for the duration of your stay. So check that out in your own time, of course. But I think that's a really cool opportunity. And I actually send out signals for every single trade that I take. So it's a pretty cool situation. All right, so looking here at Mina, we're back up above the 50-day simple moving average. RSI is up over 70, but we got plenty of room for growth here, so that's not a problem at all. I like to see that in the one-day chart. We've got interesting. Okay, it's interesting pattern here. So we got the price increase come up and over. We have a small amount of consolidation, maybe approximately 7 to 10 hours, and then ramped up again, and we're selling off. So we'll take a closer look at the smaller time frames, but we did have a golden cross here, as well as a simple fact that the RSI is coming back down under, well, actually not under 70 yet. We want to wait and see kind of what happens here, because a lot of times the RSI will bounce off of 70 and effectively work as a support level. So that could maintain the price action. We'll see here soon on a smaller time frame if that's possible, but generally speaking, this is pretty standard stuff for a significant increase of this size. Because we got to think about it. In 2 days' time, we've seen about 54%. That's a pretty good amount for Mina. All right, so taking a look here at the cloud, this is going on. So we're going to be above the cloud for obvious reasons. As you can see, it broke through there. But what I want to kind of bring to your attention here is that the cloud commonly works as a support level. So if we do see the price kind of consolidate here in this channel, it could work its way up. It could travel into the cloud, kind of hold as the second lead, and work its way up even further. Okay, so all good things there in that sense. What we're looking at here as well for TD sequentials, we had an overextension. We're right around 6. We're counting back down. We basically retraced enough to be able to reset that timer. In other words, the increases here and decreases for Mina have been pretty sporadic, right? So we got this sharp increase followed by a sharp decrease, another ramp up, another ramp down, and we kind of had this little pattern that formed, right? Got this little flag pattern and it broke to the upside. It's pretty standard. And then what we do is we see here, right around the 7, it resets. So for lack of better terms, when you see a 9 on TD sequential, it basically tells you you're going to see a reset. Well, Mina's been so violently increasing and decreasing that it hasn't had a chance to really come to that longest state. So what that basically just means is that we're not in a position right now where we can anticipate like a significant increase or decrease. I would expect a period of consolidation here, just based on the simple fact that it's not kind of it's not taking a stand in either direction, if that makes sense. Yes, the price went up, but it went way down and is trying to kind of figure itself out. So there's a lot of back and forth right now between the bulls and the bears, and that's kind of just standard for the scenario. So let's go ahead and pull up the Fibonacci retracement, kind of see roughly what we should expect here moving forward, and kind of see where we're at. So I mean, obviously we're below resistance here at about $6.15, but we're above 572. So let's go ahead and mark 572. That should be a pretty good support level. What we also want to do too is just before we go through all that trouble, let's look at the big picture and see kind of where the resistance levels are. Look at that. It's no coincidence. Take a look at that. The previous one-day candlestick close, right on the September 14th, is the exact same place the Fibonacci retracement line has as a resistance at 615 here. So we got to respect the fact that 615 is probably a very strong resistance level, and that will likely continue to maintain as a resistance. But keep this in mind: once that's broken, we're looking very good for a continuation of the upside, right? And this is something that people need to understand too. I think it's easily overlooked or maybe not explained correctly. But when you got the 1 day candlestick, that's like the most important time frame to look at when it comes to, you know, a closing time frame. In other words, this high right here, yes, we have the all-time high of $6.47. At least I believe that's the all-time high. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course. I'm using Binance, and this does appear to be, you know, only introduced to Binance on the 21st, sorry, August 10th this year, right? So it's only been in play for 3 months on this exchange. But in this scenario here, we see the more recent high, right, is right at $6.16. That's when the 1 day candlestick closed. Obviously, the actual high itself is higher. It's about $6.50, right? So what that does, that creates a resistance channel. So when the price travels into that, it'll likely either reject or spend a little bit more time in there, right? But for lack of better terms, what I'm trying to get at here is that the 1 day candlestick closed right here at $6 and just say 15 cents. That's the resistance level we need to respect first. Obviously, the other one is still relevant and it's secondary in that sense. But when we look at it here, we can see this is the major resistance line right here. Okay. So that being said, the price, hopefully, this is usually what I like to do. My play is typically to buy at the next closest support level, because we can see that it obviously resisted out here a few times. That's likely going to be a strong support at 573. So adding to your position around 573 would be advantageous. And then obviously the price would come up here and test one of these two resistance lines, right? But the bottom line here is that this is a resistance channel. So once it breaks through that channel, then we're going to be in pretty good shape to be able to see a break to the upside and then it continue on, right? So again, to me personally, I like to buy the dips at every major support level or dollar cost average into the support levels, and then, you know, kind of see where it goes from there. But more importantly, I set my profit targets right below the resistance level of the next major Fibonacci retracement line, right? So for example, say you're to take a position here at 573, you'd maybe want to consider exiting your position just below 737, right? So you might want to consider something like 727 or 730 and put your target there, just so that way you get filled if the price were to spike up and come back down. Heaven forbid you get filled and the price keeps going up, you'll have a profit target number 2 in place here, right? Just below the next major Fibonacci retracement line, about $8.20. And so on and so forth, right? That's essentially how I do it. I set 3 profit targets. And by the way, too, if you're not familiar with setting profit targets, you can really only do that through trading bots. 3 Commas is a really good resource. We use Cornix in ours. It is a paid service, but it automates the entire process through Telegram, so you really never have to log into your exchange. It's a really cool situation. And I send out signals through that, and everyone can just one-click follow if they like, right? And that's the beautiful thing about it. But the bottom line is that you cannot, you know, set trailing stop losses in most exchanges, and I recommend using that as well, whereas your stop loss moves up every time you hit a profit target. It's a really cool system. It helps lock in those profits to ensure that you trade at a higher percentage. Like me personally, I'll take profits a lot quicker than the average person, but I take it more often, right? So, you know, a good 3 to 5% will add up quickly if you're doing that 2 or 3 times a day, okay? Now, granted, there's obviously some variables, but for lack of better terms, with that trading without a stop loss, specifically a trading stop loss or multiple profit targets, is doing yourself a significant disservice. I just highly recommend it, okay? I trade closer to 90% because of that reason alone. So anyways, check that out in your own time, but more importantly here with Mina, just be careful, set your targets right below the major resistance levels. But for lack of better terms here, just to summarize, let's go ahead and call it a day here. $9.21 is effectively the best case scenario for Mina here in the near future. And what that would do is that is likely within the next 24 to 48 hours. And I say likely based on its momentum and the fact that once it breaks this all-time high, or at least obviously the high that we can see on this exchange, it's going to continue to move up, and that creates a very strong support level. So I'd be excited to see what happens once it breaks this resistance level and kind of go from there, right? So wouldn't be a terrible idea to consider adding to your position though, right around $5.72. At least that's what I would do. Not financial advice by any means, but just keep that in mind, okay? So I hope you did find benefit here today. Obviously, if you do, like, subscribe, consider joining my Patreon community, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. You have a great rest of your day. We'll see you then.